tend to be a little hard to see. They're actually well known for being really shy animals. This is a little kind of forest antelope, quite literally. They just have shorter legs than most African antelopes, which is great for them. You can see it makes it a lot easier to move and travel around the dense forest. Now those are going to be bongos, and into the bushes might be able to spot some of those greater kudos, grayish tan antelope. One of them is staring up this way, but she's just right into the bushes over there in between the trees. You can probably barely see her hiding up a little bit. And over at the right hand side, we have another animal. This one should be a little easier to spot. So there's going to be an okapi. He's standing up in between the bamboo trees out there. And okapis, these animals are the closest living relatives to the giraffes. Yes, you heard that correctly. People think that they're related to zebras because of their stripy legs. Very weirdly though, they're not related to the zebras at all. Once again, they're closely related, but to the giraffes. And essentially the okapis, they do have the same face skull as a giraffe. They also have the same prehensile long tongue they use to reach for food and water. Prehensile is just a fancy word that we use to say finger-like, but we can probably talk about that later. For now, let's keep on looking over here. We're gonna see if we can spot a few more animals near the front. I do see a rhinoceros to the left. This one's a little bit tricky because it's laying down right up against the wall to the left hand side. You can probably barely see him out there. And he found a really nice spot in the shade where to lay down, probably. Black rhinos are very rare, also super solitary species. They turn very territorial against different animals and also other rhinos. So naturally, just like this, they tend to isolate themselves most of them. Got a couple of black and white birdies to the left. These are saddle-bill stork. You have a boy and a girl up there, and you tell them apart by their eye color. Girls have yellow eyes, boys have brown eyes. For storks, it's just very likely to spot them in pairs. They do pair for life. It is very sweet. But I think with them, it's kind of seem to be most animals out in the forest. So we're just gonna move up to our next stop, and this is going to be the Sapphire River. So this will be habitat of some aquatic animals. So we're just gonna keep an eye on the water, looking out for those bubbles, maybe dark shapes over here. We're starting up on the right side, and you can keep an eye on the water right away. Start looking out for hippopotamus, but also you're gonna be starting out with a few of those birdies, and these are pinback pelican. Now those birdies got their name because in the pink color basically shows up along their backs, but this only happens during mating season. This is actually kind of cute, almost as if they were blushing. Now if you're sitting on the left, now this is your chance to look out for some hippopotamus. There you go out there. In a group of hippos, this is what is called a bloat. So it's a little bloat of hippos. It's kind of funny actually. And for hippopotamus, it's just very normal to spend most of their time submerged. This is because they try to protect their skin from the sunburn. So as a matter of fact, they'll just be their most active during the nighttime. These are nocturnal animals. And throughout the day, the main reason why they decide to step out of the water, that is going to be to get their food. The hippos are herbivores, so they only eat plants. Now we're going to take a look out here also. Just making sure we are not missing anything. But it looks a little bit quiet around this side of the river. Alrighty. Let's keep on going then. We can probably get a bit more lucky right ahead. So you'll notice that the ecosystem is switching up in a second. And we're starting to make our way right over the savannah. Now when you think about the savannah, you probably think of animals like elephants, zebras, giraffes. So we're gonna try to catch up with all of those. You will be having a bit of a savannah overlook down the left in a second. So you can always try and see if you can spot any animals at first sight. But no worries, we'll head up there right away. I do think I start seeing some giraffes. Let's move up a little bit further down. They'll get a bit more visible at the bottom of the hill. A little clue is gonna be to look around that green truck that you're gonna see up ahead. I think they're just getting nearby that to get some snacks.
She's throwing a twang in there. I learned my English from Southern movies.
And there he goes out there. It's just blending in really nicely, but you can kind of see the spot sticking out of the tree. So that is going to be a Maasai giraffe. We're going to be getting a lot closer in a little bit, so no worries. And you can also start seeing some zebras. They're going to be a bit more visible from here. These are Hartman Mountain zebra. A group of zebras, this is what is called a dazzle. That is a dazzle of zebras. A group of giraffes, the name is a little easier to remember. They're called a tower. It is a tower of giraffes because they do tower up on top of every other animal out in the savannah. Let's see if we can go a little closer. You can also see on the left, and I'm just going to point them out just in case you see them, because I think the wild ducks are just taking their daily power nap underneath the little tree up on the left side. There's a little spot with a lot of hay right over there, with a lot of little rocks scattered around, also up by the shade. The wild ducks are just right up there. They look like teeny tiny tan black and white spots. This is one of the most successful hunters out in the savannah. The key for their success is just teamwork. So the wild ducks will hunt together using their white tails to spot each other as they hunt. Our next couple animals should be a lot easier to see. Got sable antelopes and of course Maasai giraffes. There we go. A good example on how they get their food to the left. So I talk a little bit about this when I talk about the okapi. Quiz time. What is this called? I've been talking for nothing. So this is called a prehensile long tongue. What does prehensile mean? Finger like only one person. I love you forever. The rest of the safari is for you, my dear. Now, prehensile, it does mean finger-like. That simply means that they get to use their tongue as a finger, twisting leaves, pulling down, just as if you were using your hand to grab some stuff. It is pretty much the same thing. Get another one out here to the left. Now, this one over here is a mom, and baby is going to be up by the trees over here. So I'm just going to be a little cautious. Now this little baby out here seems to be about a 2-month-old Maasai giraffe. Probably about 7.5 feet at this point. A newborn giraffe though tends to be already about 5 feet. They're already the size of an average human. So again, at 2 months, little baby's probably about 7 feet. Either way, it is probably taller than most of us. In a giraffe, for the most part, a giraffe is considered a baby as long as they are nursing from their moms. The second they stop nursing, that is not a baby anymore, that is a teenager, which usually happens at around a year, year and a half. They're going to be considered an adult as soon as they get to the very old age in between 3 and 4 years old. That tends to be an adult giraffe already. Got another one out here to the left. There it goes out there. Also just getting some snacks. And to the right, I have a few more animals over here. So you got a few wildebeest just hanging out by the bushes. Out on the right side. Wildebeest, these are very social animals. They're very used to moving around in really big groups. Once a year, the wildebeest tend to have what is called their Great Migration. That migration can have up to 1.5 million of them. That is going to be just in a single group. Makes it the second most populated land mammal. Second, just right after us, humans. Now, I think we're going to be able to find a few more animals a little bit further down into the savannah. I kind of saw some springboks far up on the distance, teeny tiny, tin and white antelopes, but we're going to be going back to those in just a little bit. For now, our next up is going to be up ahead. We're moving into elephant territory. And of course, African savanna, well, has to be home of the African elephant, the largest land animal. You can probably see him already. There we go. And we're heading a bit into a small area. Especially those solitary males will be taking over small sections around the savannah, just so they can have some control over all of that territory. There it goes. You can see I'm just getting some snacks out there. So, the elephants have their really cold trunks. They can use those to grab food or water. They can also use their trunks to greet, hug other elephants. Especially the females tend to do that. They do know how to show affection to each other. Boys get to use their trunks to kind of trunk wrestle with other male elephants. We'll be using those to test their strength. And roughly, there is over 100,000 muscles just on the elephant's trunk. There's actually even more muscles that we have in our whole body. We're gonna be able to meet up with a few more of them. So, we're just gonna keep it up over here. Let's see. And when we talk about elephant groups, once again, in a group, the boys are a bit solitary, quite independent. If we talk about the girls, that is a little bit different. The girls are a lot more social, so they do enjoy hanging out together. They're also going to try and stick together throughout that whole entire lifespan. That can be 60 or even 70 years. So for elephants, that ends up being a long time. It is very sweet as well. You can probably keep an eye out here to the left, so you can look out for a few of the ladies. There they go.
There you go. Can't see. Maddie's right there.
No, I'm like the sun.
Since they're also trying to find some spots along the shade, it's been getting a little hot for them lately. A good sign of that is gonna be that movement that you see along their ears. Oftentimes the elephants, they get to use their ears to fan themselves, which is really, really cool. You can see that they kind of flap their ears. Again, they're just trying to fan themselves. But if they get really, really hot, they can use their trunks to hold the water, the mud, the dust. They're gonna splash that right on their backs like a little shower, trying to cool down a little bit, especially with the mud. They get to use that as a sunscreen, also as a bug repellent. You got a couple more out there. Right up with the Ellies, I think we have another animal about to come up to the left. We're going to be heading into the Flamingo Island. In the group of flamingos, this is what is called a flamboyance. This is going to be a flamboyance of some greater flamingos. A greater because it's one of the largest of the flamingo species. They also have one of the lightest of those pink colorations, so that's why they look a little bit white. Flamingos, though, they will be getting their color because of their diet and, of course, shrimp. That is the most common one. But truly, any different kinds of microorganisms that are rich in a hormone called beta-carotene. Usually that color is going to come up during the first couple of years of life, but they're not going to be even hatched being pink. The flamingos will be hatched being gray. I think with them, we're all going to make our way out of the West Savannah. We're heading right up to the Savannah East. And the eastern side of the savannah is a very open, very plain area. Sometimes especially a really good sign of predators lurking around the hills. I think the truck in front of us, they probably spotted out something already. So we're gonna try and catch up right behind them. out for the cheetahs over here. So to the left, if you keep an eye around that little corner at the top of the hill to the left hand side, you can probably see one of them laying down right next to the trees out there. She's laying down flat, kind of facing the side, her little head's up right there. So this is a cheetah. Beautiful.
Didn't they just throw funny?
There she goes. Is of course fastest land animal. Cheetah's gonna go from 0 to 60 miles an hour in about 3 seconds. That's about it. They can also maintain their speed up for about a few hundred yards. In that process, they just go even faster than those 60 miles an hour. Want to see if there's maybe a few more. There's one walking over here. Kind of on the left side, you can see her moving across the trees. Got another one. Over there, you have a little couple.
Yeah, that's the one that launched stars instead. This kid.
There's another one at the end. The cheetahs end up being diurnal hunters. They'll be active pretty much as visible throughout the day or during the early morning. For them, this does have a purpose. Just makes it a lot easier to avoid nocturnal predators that tend to be way stronger than them. So I also like to say, the cheetahs are really smart animals. But I think with them, you're still moving around predator area, and right up ahead, this is gonna be big cat territory. You're gonna be looking at this huge rock formation to the left at Kobe Rock. And this tends to be home of animals like the king of this place, the African lion. You can probably see a lot of pride of lions napping all the way up to the edge of this Kobe.
Literal only have seen them napping.
We seem to have about 3 of them over
Oh,
here.
there's the big man.
Got a rhinoceros to the right. We're gonna be going back to the rhinos in a little bit. We're gonna start with the lions over here first.
Zoom in.
There they go. So right over big cat territory, there's especially 2 main things that can make up a cat a big cat. First, it is the fact of them being nocturnal. For lions, that is a check mark. And second of all, most importantly, a big cat, it needs the ability to roar. And for lions, that is absolutely another check mark. Lions can roar, and that roaring can be heard up to about 5 miles away. This is very much how they spot each other.
Do you think warbles negotiate?
Now let's
with
get a
them?
look
They're
up
like,
ahead.
"Listen, y'all sleep and I'll sleep.
Exactly, that's the deal.
We'll both be awake for that hour at a time, and then we'll go back to sleep.
Now let's see if we can go back to a few of the rhinos out there to the right. You can probably see them. There they go.
Wow, they're big.
And this is a couple of white rhinoceros. It's one of my favorite animals out here. They're the friendliest out of the 5 of the rhino species. Group of rhinos, by the way, is called a crash of rhinos. And laying down by the bottom of that green truck to the right side as well, there's going to be an ostrich. So if you see a big great bush with a long neck sticking out of it, that is her right there. And that is going to be a female ostrich. You can tell because of the gray color of her feathers. Boys are just a little bit bigger, and they also have a pitch black color. They're really huge birds. They're flightless though. They're the largest of the flightless birds, but they run really fast to a good 43 miles an hour. If you see up on the right side, you can probably see a few X at the bottom. If you see some yellow circles on the right hand side of the road, kind of up by the grass, you're gonna see some X. And again, those were ostrich eggs, largest kind of egg from the largest kind of bird. A single one of their eggs is about 3 pounds. So you're thinking of the equivalent to 24 chicken eggs on one single ostrich egg. Since up ahead, we're also crossing up to the last area of their reserve, Magadi Glen, and this is always taken over by the goats. So you're gonna be looking around for those Nigerian dwarf goats. Honestly, one of the cutest animals around. Just keep an eye everywhere you can. You'll probably see a goat. Now the goaties are really social. These are also super playful animals. They're one of the most domesticatable animals in the world. Just because of how friendly they are. They do just grow up to this tiny size. It is max about 2 feet. So there is a chance there are some full-grown adults right upon this group. And the fact that they're so small is just very useful. Goats are natural climbers. That is very much how they have fun. So they have excellent balance, lots and lots of energy. They're very good at climbing up this stuff. Let's keep it up because I think with them we're all going to make our way, well, out of their reserve. Let's head on back up to civilization. And I believe we have seen a bunch of really cool animals out here today. You got to see a lot of stuff. But I always like to say, none of that will be possible without conservation. That is the whole purpose of our safari out here today. So the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, Harambe, it is another Swahili phrase. It means come together, because that is what we do. We come together to help to the conservation of all of these animals. And keep in mind that conservation starts with a conversation. So go out there and share all of the different things that you learn about the animals today. Because the first step on saving a species, that is going to be simply learning about it. And on that note, well, it kind of seems that we're almost good to go. So this is a good time for you to double check those rows. Just make sure you gather any of those personal belongings. And as we get close to the end here in Harambe, we don't like to say goodbye. Instead, we say kwaherini. And kwaherini means to go.